Hello and welcome to Not Your Mother's Midlife Crisis. I'm Chris and this is my co-host Chris.
Hello, Chris. Great to be with you
Great to
another
be with
week.
you. Yeah, always nice to see you each week for
Yes.
our
Mhm.
weekly chat.
I know. I look forward to it. It's the
Um,
highlight of my week.
yes, and we're excited we have another guest today. But
Yes.
before I introduce our guest, I have something to give you.
Oh, you do?
So it adds to the table, but you can take this with you. So Leslie Joy Damer from
Hmm.
SkinLib sent us the skin lipids. And she said she's going to
Oh,
send us the peptides as well. But so
okay.
this is yours for you
Oh,
to take.
thank you.
I've used it and it feels really nice on your
Okay.
face.
And I'm a
So
product girl,
I
so
know. I think
yeah.
you're going to like it. I think you're really
Okay,
going to
good.
like it. So today we have with us, super excited, we have Lori Montry. She's a somatic healing practitioner and the author of You're Not the Problem and the creator of the Freedom Formula.
And Lori graduated from Harvard Law and now helps people who feel stuck in stress and overwhelmed to break destructive patterns. So welcome to Not Your Mother's Midlife Crisis, Lori. We are so excited to have you. And is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know, or do you like to share before we get started?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for letting me share this amazing space that you guys have created. I'm super excited to be here with you. And I think we're going to just jump into it. There'll be plenty to talk about, and so I'm just excited to start our conversation.
Great.
Awesome. Yes.
Us too.
Hmm.
So well, let's start out with what is a somatic healer?
Yeah, so somatics, it comes from the Greek word for body, which is soma. And really, it's just the practice of using your body's signals, your body's needs to guide you as kind of like your compass in life. You can think of your body as your GPS, and somatics, especially the way that I work with it, it includes both the mind and the body, but it's really helps us open up and relate to and build a relationship with our body so that it can really be our primary source of wisdom and guidance.
And how did you find yourself on that path?
Boy. So, they say we teach what we need to learn. And that was certainly the case for me. I started out, just to give you just a little bit for context, I came into the world to a family, to a mother who was already overwhelmed, completely spent. And so my presence in the world from pretty much day one, I had the awareness, or at least I thought in my little child mind, that I was a burden, that my existence on the planet was didn't make things better. It made things harder. And then around age 4, I was the victim of sexual abuse for a period of time. And those things created the need for me to do what all of us humans do, which is adapt, right? We adapt to our surroundings, to our circumstances. And so I developed a number of adaptations. I write about them extensively in the book, but um, a few of them were just, feeling that I wasn't enough, that I really needed to prove myself in the world in order to be okay. And I also developed the pattern of turning to food for comfort and support, and to deal with, all of the intense feelings that I didn't know what to do with as a tiny person. So I grew up under these adaptations and struggled with my relationship with food, and certainly my relationship with myself and the world for forever. And it drove every decision I made. Every day was just a battle to try to earn my worth. And so fast forward to finally when I approached 40, I was probably about 38 or so, I started to realize, you know what? All these achievements that I had racked up, um, they actually didn't do it. I don't feel any better than I did before. In fact, it's almost just raised the bar higher. And now I'm wondering, well, if that's not the answer, what is? And so I essentially became a student again. This time, not in the law library, but in the world of trauma and nervous system, behavior change. And then finally, the piece that I really needed to bring in to kind of round it all out was the somatics. And so that's how I arrived here, by necessity.
That's quite a journey.
And I think too, a lot of women especially can relate to your story because oftentimes, I mean, I know for myself, you really do. You grow up with that feeling that you have to be better and you have to be stronger and you kind of have to be tougher. And to really prove yourself and prove your worth, whether it's in a relationship, in society, in your career. So, I mean, you can see it and it does it. And I could see how it impacted if it was you with food. I remember me like being so stressed, I couldn't even eat. Like it was almost like my throat would close up. Like I'd have to force myself to eat just to even know that I had to get something inside me, or like to sleep. We talk a lot about how like the stress sleep and the way it is. So no, I think this can really help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would someone know, or what did it mean to have a dysregulated nervous system?
Yeah. We already named some things, right? I can't eat. I can't stop eating. I can't sleep, right? I can't relax. I can't think straight. Feel, this feeling inside is something's just not right. I've described it for myself. I had the feeling that I was wearing an itchy sweater that I couldn't take off. Something's off, right? It can be chronic disease. It can be chronic pain. It shows up differently in different bodies, but it is, a whole host of things that, a lot of us just kind of normalize, right? It may be headaches. It may be patterns that we get stuck in. I always pick the same relationship, or I keep people pleasing, and it shows up literally in thousands of different ways.
So I've been doing a lot of somatic breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, a lot of breathing. If you've listened to all the episodes or some of the episodes, we mentioned some nerve issue I'm having. Anyway, I do a lot of the breathing to try to reset my nervous system. Okay. And I kind of feel more relaxed. But what does it really mean? What's happening in my body when I reset my nervous system through breathing?
Yeah. Well, let me ask, so what is your experience of it? You're saying that do feel more relaxed? You're having,
I will definitely feel more relaxed. But I definitely, it doesn't stay. If I feel, I don't know, it's more like a chore now, or not, and I don't look at it as a chore, but it's more like, okay, wait, I have to do my breathing today. And I will spend 20 breaths of doing, a 6 count in and an 8 count out, trying to fill up my chest, feeling the breath in different parts of my body. I do that and I will feel good afterwards, but I don't really know what's happening in my body when I do this.
yeah, yeah. And thank you for sharing that with me. And I think that this really highlights something that is really important for me, because when I first started somatics, I came to it just like, everyone else in the world. I was a student, so I was learning from practitioners, but I've like you, like, what's going on? And for me, I would also say there was an extra layer where I had cut off from my body very early on. So I was a, walking head, like so many of us, really kind of unaware of what was going on from the neck down. And so this whole world of paying attention to my body was so foreign. And I think one of the things that we miss out on when we're talking about somatics is very often the goal as it's put to us is to relax the system. And that's why we do these exercises, right? It's like, how do I tell my nervous system to relax? And so we do things like breathing and any of the other thousands of tools that we have available to us. But the way that I think of somatics and the way that I have seen it to be most effective is not to think of it like I need to calm my system down, but I use somatics to build a relationship with my nervous system so that I understand what it's telling me and what it needs. So if I'm feeling revved up, activated, and I tell my system, okay, we're going to do some breaths right now, we're going to bring this down, but my system is registering threat. Best case scenario, it's going to take the edge off, but all that energy is still going to be there. And that's smart, because if it's registering threat, you need that energy, or so your system thinks. So it's the example that I give is silly, but it really drives this home. Imagine, you and I were being chased by a bear and we're running through the field, and I turn to you and I say, "Oh, the wildflowers are so lovely right now. Let's sit down and smell them." And you'd be like, "What are you talking about? We're going to die if we do that, right? And that's like us trying to tell our nervous system, hey, everything is fine. Just
Okay.
sit down and
That's
smell
really
the
good.
flowers. You know?
And our body's
So,
saying, what the hell?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So that's why I say best case scenario is it takes the edge off for a minute. So you're saying, yeah, kind of, I do feel a little better, but it comes right back. And that's where we have so much power when we really understand the purpose of somatics is not to control the nervous system. It's to develop a relationship so the nervous system and your body can tell you, hey, what's going on? Why do you have this energy inside? And what do you need, body? Not what I'm going to tell you that you need. You may need something to metabolize that energy, not to calm it. And that's why we have big tool belts. We don't show up like a handyman doesn't show up to a job with just a hammer. Sometimes he needs a screwdriver or a ratchet or whatever it is. So in somatics, at least the way I teach it, we need a big tool belt so that when your body lets you know what's going on, you can pick the appropriate tool and be able to respond to it. And that's a beautiful relationship, right? Where it's asking for something and you're there able to respond appropriately rather than, it's kind of like a baby crying and you're like, here's your pacifier every time, but I'm wet. Here's your
Yeah.
pacifier.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So really, is it the way, if I can understand it, it's that when your body or your nervous system is always in that flight or fight mode, you are finding ways to, one, address like why it's in that mode, and then two, help like bring it down or help calm it or redirect the energy. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
All
That's
right. Yeah.
absolutely correct. Yeah. But, we all want hacks and we all want things that are easy. And of course we do. And I do too, right? If I order something, I want it on my porch in an
Yes.
hour, of course, right? But there is no nervous system hack. And when I'm so excited that the nervous system is being talked about, that we're understanding some things and that it is part of the conversation. But at the same time, I'm also very frustrated by, do this trick to hack your vagus nerve and the things that really aren't going to be long-term helpful. We'll get there. We absolutely will. But it's not a hack. It's a relationship. As you so intelligently said, you have to figure out what's causing that fight or flight energy to be there. We're not just going to cover it up and say, just don't feel that way, system. It's fine. Trust me.
So, and do you see that relationship or those signs of your nervous system change as we approach midlife or change over the course of your life?
Absolutely. So there's a model that I use. And it's really helpful for purposes of understanding what's happening for us. And it can take some of the judgment around what we're experiencing. But we all have a cylinder, kind of like those cylinders that we use back in high school chemistry class with the numbers 1 to 10 running up the side. And this represents our nervous system. So from the time we're born, essentially, our nervous system cylinder is collecting those events that were overwhelming for us in the moment. So not every stressful event goes into our cylinder, only the ones that we didn't have the ability to process in the moment. But we all have them, right? So throughout our life, we are collecting these experiences and our nervous system cylinder is filling all throughout our lives. Now, I think it's useful to also note that we have 3 primary states of our nervous system. And when we're in that kind of that 1 to 3 range, that's when we're feeling calm. We are able to engage with our prefrontal cortex. So we have access to our good ideas, our creativity. We feel kind of ready for what life might bring and able to handle it. That's kind of what I call home base. And then as we move up into the 4 to 5 range, that's when we feel on a little bit. And that's good, right? That's a little bit of sympathetic energy. That's where we like to play, where it's perfect to have like a conversation like this. And that's healthy and that's good to be there, but maybe not all the time, right? Nobody wants to be on all the time. And then we get up into the 6, 7 range, and that's where we start to feel anxiety, stress, that fight or flight mobilization energy. And then beyond 7 is where we go up into the overwhelm, the freeze, the shutdown, the dissociation, like, ugh, it's too much. Everything is too much. We might find that things that used to be easy suddenly just take so much of our capacity and our energy. And so depending on the individual, as we go through life, we're hit with all kinds of things that we may not have the ability and midlife or kind of younger adulthood, right? We've got kids, we've got jobs, we've got so much, and it's not necessarily that it's traumatic, right? It can be, but that all those experiences, when we don't have time to step back and just process and metabolize what happened to us that day where we were pulled in 5,000 different directions, that adds to our cylinder. And over time, we may end up with a pretty full cylinder, even though, hey, it's just the same, it's just normal life. Well, when
Yeah.
your cylinder's full, normal life feels very different,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we find ourselves very often with a full cylinder.
Yeah, and like same thing. I mean, we remember like when our kids were young, and you're just going through the day to day, talking with people that have those little
Yeah.
kids and working and relationships. Like it is like you describe it as a grind. It's like a daily
And
grind
you
to
just
get,
do it.
and you
You
just
just
have
you
to
just
do
do it
it.
because that's where
Yeah,
you are.
but I can see the fact that that your cylinder is full.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm listening to this and I'm seeing that cylinder. I'm going, does it overflow? And what happens when it overflows?
100%. It overflows. And that's where I was talking to somebody last week, and it's like, I can't get myself to take a shower. I can't get myself to like, what is wrong with me? Right? Sometimes we think, oh my gosh, this old age thing is just, and this is just what I'm stuck with. And when we're overflowing, we might get stuck on the couch. We might, be in a situation where we don't even know what we need. And we're like walking around almost, zombie like, wondering what the hell. And then we just chalk it up to, getting older or hormones. And of course, hormones have a
It's
role to play
all.
here. Of course,
Yeah.
it all.
Yes.
But the nervous system is at play here as well. And the nervous system is impacting your hormones, and it's impacting everything. So starting with your cylinder here
Okay.
and coming back to a healthy, well regulated, which means we can move up and down appropriately. We don't get stuck. That's the first place for a lot of people, because things actually resolve when your nervous system is in that healthy, flexible space.
Okay. So is there a process to finding that right path to calm your nervous system?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the book is about.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what we need. And there's 3 pillars that I really go into. And it's silly a little bit to talk about them separately because they're all so interrelated that you can't really work, whatever you do with one is impacting the other. But the 3 pillars that we need for a healthy, regulated nervous system is safety. And that's a felt sense of safety. It's not physical safety, like, okay, there's no actual threat. It's a felt sense of safety. It's everything is okay. I have what I need to take care of myself and whatever's, going on for me. It's capacity. Right? Because if we don't have capacity, we can have the best intentions. We can know exactly what we should do. But if there's no capacity, there's no capacity, and you're not going to be able to do it. And it's cruel to expect yourself to be able to. And that's where the whole willpower, I just need more willpower. I just need to, discipline. You need more capacity. And the third pillar is energy, because pushing past our capacity day after day causes your cells to move from energy production into protection. And literally the mitochondria in your cells are now, instead of producing ATP in the way that they normally would, optimally would, they've got you in protection. It's kind of like when you have the flu and you have no energy and you just want to lay there. You don't want to talk. You don't want to see anybody. You just don't have it, right? That's when your cells are in that protective place. And so we can live our lives that way. So we need to restore that energy. And when you have energy and capacity and you're well regulated, okay, now we can talk about what are the things that are good for you. But before we have those three things, there's no point in that conversation.
Okay. Well,
So then what are some of the tools, as you described, we need a big toolbox that you teach for us to be able to identify and then calm our nervous system?
Yeah, I like that you said identify first because that's exactly what we need to do. We need to be able to hear from it. We need to understand, what's going on and why, and then we can respond, right? So the first thing that we always start with is those kind of check-ins where we can just literally check in with ourselves, right? And find out what's going on in there. Right? How many times do we really pay attention, right, to what's happening in the body? Usually only when the body gets really loud, right? And there's some kind of emergency. And then we'll pay attention because we have no other choice. But your body is sending you signals all the time. Every So we start with some check-ins, 5 times a day, maybe first thing in the morning, right around midday, lunchtime, mid-afternoon, evening time, right? Where you just check in and you start to get to know your system, where you are on the cylinder, and what maybe some of the other situations or what was going on for you at the time. Wow, I've been keeping a log and I noticed that every day on my drive to work, I was fine in the morning, and then as soon as I just start driving to work, my cylinder starts to fill, and already I'm at a 7, and I was just at a 3. And we start to realize and understand those patterns and what's going on. And then we develop our tools, right? But in the beginning, the body doesn't know what tool it's going to ask for or what it needs because that relationship hasn't been built yet. So we start using the tools and we try them on and we see how we respond. And over time, we build the relationship that helps us understand what to offer. And the body starts to be more clear about what is needed. But we're going to have to make some changes to life as well. We're going to have to change maybe some of the thought patterns that are driving this, right? Because if we're just working with the nervous system, but you're still thinking that you have to earn your worth, or if you're still thinking that you have to make everybody happy and that's your responsibility, you're not going to be able. That is never going to be a situation where you're going to be able to feel safe. So it's all of life.
I guess, yeah, if you can't control other people's happiness and you keep trying to do it and you're not succeeding, how would you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How could your system feel safe?
So is it a matter of like trial and error with the tools? Like if they fail, what do you do? How do you handle that?
Yeah. And so such a great question because most people are going to have that experience with one tool or another, right? Some people, you give them the breathing that's helping you right now, they might hyperventilate. And, it just actually create a strong response for them and make them feel worse. So it is definitely a process of trial and error, yes, but it's within a bigger system, right? So that it's not just, okay, throw this on the wall and then see what sticks. It's more of, kind of careful, I don't want to say charting, but it's paying attention, and so one of the first things that we do is we start the tracking process that I described, and you've got some little notes that you can take as far as, I tried this is what happened. Or if it fails, quote unquote failed, the tool hasn't failed and you haven't failed. That's just data. That helps me understand when I'm in that state, this tool is not the right tool for the job. It might be the right tool in another scenario, or it might be the right tool for my system 6 months from now. It's a fluid kind of relationship that allows you to respond just like we would a baby, right? What a 3-year-old baby, or I'm sorry, a 3-month-old baby needs, and what a 12-month baby needs, is different. And so that's our goal, is to learn and respond based on the needs of the moment.
Okay. So I like how you talked about the check-ins. So Chris and I both did a morning meditation workshop at our local gym with our yoga instructor, and she was really good. And she talked about every morning before you get out of bed, you need to check in with yourself
Yep.
to see how you feel physically, how you feel mentally, what your energy level
Emotionally, yep.
is, emotionally, to do all those steps before to kind of help you set your day. So I see that being one of the tools, really.
Yes. I was
Yeah.
thinking
Mhm.
that as she was explaining like all those check-ins, I'm like, okay, well, we got one.
Yeah, which
We
I
do
thought was
one
really
check-in.
good, and,
Yeah.
like, listening to that, like, how you talked about the check-ins, I was thinking about, Stacy's that her well, she talked about this is needs to be your morning check-in so you can kind of get your mind set for the day, and I guess and the same thing and your nervous system. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would not be, I mean, I wouldn't trust myself to go out into the world if I have not done my morning check-in, my morning time. No way, you know.
Mhm.
And that's where we get to, we get to check in, we get to decide how much capacity do I have today? What's on my list? What needs to be massaged, what needs to get taken off, or what else do I want to take on because I have the capacity to do it. And that's really, it's self-leadership. And instead of just responding to life, we get to be the creators of it. But we have to be involved, right? We have to be intentional. We have to show up.
So I could see so are some of these tools then you have both, like, physical tools, if you wanna call them physical, meaning, like, you're breathing and do this somatic breathing, or even like physical meaning meditation, and some of them more mental or psychological of a check-in, maybe your mantra like, I can handle this, I'm good enough, whatever it may be. I mean, is that how you say that that's why there's multiple tools?
Yeah, so we always work both mind and body,
Okay.
right? Because they're so intertwined. They're impacting each other. So if we're only focused on the body, say, and like we were talking about earlier, I'm going to, just listen to my body and I'm going to do these breathing exercises, but 5 minutes later, I'm telling myself, because of my belief system that I've developed, that, I have to hustle for my worth, or I'm only worthy if I make X amount of money or achieve whatever, then that's going to drive your system right back to the place that it was before you did this. So we need both. And
Okay.
so there's our mental tools, so to speak, top down, and then there's our body tools, bottom up. And we absolutely need them both. And any approach that is primarily one or the other or exclusively one or the other, it's not going to work for you. And that's why, people first, I get so many people, they've been working so hard for so long and they just keep building that evidence in their mind like I'm too broken. I can't, heal. I've tried everything. And really what's needed is that blended approach.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. Can you tell us about the freedom formula?
Yeah, absolutely. So the freedom formula is the path that I took. It didn't exist when I needed it. So for me, I took a long time getting to where I wanted to be. It took a lot of detours, a lot of dead ends. But at the end of the day, I did figure out what is that path? What are the different modalities and tools that we need in order to develop that relationship and be able to respond and for our system to guide us and to provide us with what we need. It's really made up of three parts. This first part is what we've been talking about, and that's the content in the first book. It's the safety, the capacity, and the energy that we need. And from there, then we can really start going into our thought patterns and understanding what is our belief system and where did it come from and is it serving me? And that's the second step. But we don't do that work until we have worked with our body and our system, because if we are in survival mode, meaning at that 6 level on the cylinder or above, if we're spending a lot of time there, you don't even have access to the part of your brain that's capable of forming new pathways. So why are we spending any energy trying to either control your thoughts or your behavior when you don't even have access to the part of you that can do it? So the first step is to gain access to that, what I call your expansive self. She's got all the answers. She knows exactly what you want. She knows how to get there, and she's got the energy to follow through. So that's our first step. We're gonna get access to her. And then in the second step, we're going to really figure out who you are authentically. If that's not my belief, what is? And come home to your truth. And then the third step, which is the step everybody wants to take first, is okay, now you've done the work. Let's build the life, right? Let's talk about your goals and exactly how the step by step that we are going to make your dreams come true. But that's way over here in the third phase. And it takes a brave woman to say, I'm willing to start over here and go through the whole process. Just tell me how to do the thing. Just tell me how to get the willpower to,
Yeah.
follow through. And that's the funny part, we'll spend decades there. Right. And that's what we will spend decades trying to get ourselves to follow through, follow the diet, do the, move and plan, quit the job, whatever it is. And it's not possible. You're not going
Everybody
to get
wants a
there.
quick fix, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could see following your formula at different patterns or different times in your life. Like, you have to identify, get through those first three, this is who I am, or this is my belief system. This is and then you kind of stumble and fall and have to go back to step
Yeah.
one, and restart.
100%. Absolutely. It's like layers, it's like, okay, this layer I'm going to go through, right? And
Yeah.
the first few times when I realized that, because I very sillily, if that's a word, I thought there was a point where I was like, man, I did this thing. Like, this is great. I think I'm done. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
no.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was
I'd want that too.
right.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Does that mean I didn't do it right? Does that no, it just means there'll always be that next level that we get to experience. And so but I love it. And I talk about it all the time because my nervous system, it's not that I've learned to necessarily to control it or, I never get stressed. Of course I do. We wouldn't want nervous systems that never get stressed. It's good. It's my compass. Oh, I'm stressed. What's going on? What am I thinking? What does my body need in order to, does it need quiet? Does it need a freer schedule? Does it need co-regulation with a loved one? So
I know right now I need warmer weather. As we talked about, my nervous system needs warmer weather.
Seriously.
yeah.
Some
And
vitamin
that's,
D.
something important to recognize, all of these things matter. Yeah.
So just a little side there. So, you're talking about going back and forth in the whole process. I'm a list checker. Like, I love checking off a list. It gives me great satisfaction. I think I would struggle because now I got to erase the check mark because I got to go back. I bet you people struggle with the going back and forth, or is it just me? Thinking of that concept is hard.
No, I would identify with that.
When you say
with the freedom formula, going back and forth in that from between like that second stage where you're trying to figure it out before you go to the goals. That's where I see when you're explaining it, I'm like, I can see want to be checking things off the list. And then you do kind of fluctuate back and forth. And I think so. Are there other people that struggle with that feeling like I didn't do it, I didn't accomplish it, and then they feel kind of like they failed part of it?
Or is it the part where you have to learn to show yourself grace and give yourself grace? Like we've talked about that a lot. Yeah, because the same thing, we're both very A-type, and we do need to show ourselves more grace.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great point. And it's something that, you knowing that about yourself, can support yourself in it. But so the way I like to think about it is we're not actually, checking things off like I'm done with that. The goal is not to complete anything. The goal is to learn who I am, right? So it's kind of like having that North Star up there. Now I have that, I can steer by it. It's not a checklist, and I'm never going to arrive at the North Star. right? But I'm going to use it my whole life to navigate and to
Okay.
help me to run everything by it. So the goal is really to create that for yourself. It's not to, check things out. And that's the thing about somatics too, is that it is not prescriptive and it is not something that you do it so that you can check it off, right? It's relationship any more than you guys in your friendship. You don't call Chris and Chris doesn't call Chris to be like, okay, here I am doing my check-in. I called you today. Check. Let me move
Okay.
to the
All right. I
next
get it.
thing.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's kind of like what we talked about with our yoga instructor about you can't outgrow your vision. So it's kind of, I
Uh,
would say, along those lines
Yes.
where Stacey mentioned, like, you have a vision and you can never outgrow it because it's always changing and moving with you.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
get rid
And
of the
that
checklist.
actually brings peace.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. And
Okay.
I love how you can relate this to your own life, certainly, but also to these teachings and it can, it become more rich based on your understanding of what's going on underneath and why it's so important to have these practices and anchors in our lives.
So
The,
we saved this till the end, but I guess we could have put it in the beginning about when we were talking with you about to please tell us about You Are Not the Problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a while back, somebody asked me, they said, What would be like the one thing across everybody that you've worked with and all the different, issues and challenges that they bring to you? What's the one thing that you would want them to know?" And it was super easy. It came right away and it's like, they're not the problem. And that as soon as the words came out, "You're not the problem," it was just encapsulated everything in one little phrase. And that's when I decided to start putting the freedom formula into a book. It's always, I would say, bothered me, but it's always been something like the work applies to every single person with a nervous system. And so it's always felt to me like I feel so limited in how I can offer it. And the book gives me a way to distribute it throughout the entire world and to have it all in one place where people can digest it kind of at their own pace, etc. Yeah. So the book is really the conversation that we've been talking about. It's that phase one. How do we do this? And you've asked me questions and I feel almost like I'm being a little evasive, like, Lori, give us the tools. And I'm saying, build the relationship. And you're like, because I really struggle with how do I describe this, this relationship building in little sound bites. I struggle with it. And I've hired people, I've tried to get I don't know. So now it's in one place and it is the first step. It's the foundation. It's like the sturdy basement of your home. We wanna build those second floor balconies that look amazing and all of that. But if we don't have that strong foundation first, they're just gonna crumble again and again. So the book is really all of these practices. It's built around the 5 times a day check-ins, and they grow throughout the book so that you really start to understand yourself and what you need. It's got the tools and yeah, so I'm really excited. It's being released next month. Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll be on to phase two.
all right. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about phase two as you're talking about this, and I feel like there needs to be one for parents to kind of teach them, like a children's book, to try and teach the children how to build the relationship at a much younger age, so they never end up with their canister overfilling. Like that.
Yes.
That would be
That,
wow. Teach it in
yeah.
school, something.
Yeah. And that's
That's
exactly
a great
what,
idea.
so much of the work is about. And I consider the book not just a book, it's really a movement because when we can, create a world that is more trauma informed, more somatic literate, it's an entirely different world. And my hope is that the book will reach and we'll be able to build a movement around this so that it is in every room, schoolrooms and boardrooms and courtrooms, and every single room needs to understand what's happening at the nervous system level. And if we can create a world like that, it'll be very different and so needed.
I feel like it'd be a much kinder world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we teach kids, right out of the gate, we start teaching them to ignore their body signals. No, it's not lunchtime yet. Sit still, even though your body has all this energy and it wants to move. And, don't cry. Boys don't cry. Be tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
We teach our our entire population how to ignore their bodies.
Gosh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah, telling them like, oh, it's not that big of a deal trying to, you think you're making them feel better, but you're telling them to ignore what their body's telling them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even innocuous experiences like, oh, you didn't make the soccer team. Well, let's go, to the movies. It's like, and then we wonder, how did we learn to run away from our difficult emotions, whether it's to
Right.
food or wine or an
Yeah.
experience, whatever it is, because
Right.
nobody ever sat and said, oh man, that is hard. Let's sit with that. Where do you feel that in your body?
Yeah. Where's the
Oh,
coping
yeah.
skills in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I love that you immediately saw my vision of, yes, we need to bring this to, especially to young people. But as parents and as grandparents or wherever
Yep.
we are, we impact everyone in our circle,
Mhm.
and we do it without even noticing. If I take a moment and I just, I'm quiet or I'm still, or maybe I put my hand on my heart, something, I just gave information better than any lecture that could ever be offered, by through my example. And so every nervous system that we touch will impact many other nervous systems and so on. So it's exciting to think about what we can accomplish together as we learn to take care of ourselves and understand what's going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is great. I can't wait to read your book.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So where can our find your book and find out more information about you?
Yeah, so I've made the introduction, which is I call it the introduction, but my goodness, I realize that it's all of my backstory along with the outline of the Freedom Formula is available in the introduction, and I've made that available in a link that you can offer to your audience, and so they can download that and start reading it immediately. And maybe by the time we air, the book will be available. It'll be certainly on the website, but the link will be there, LoriMontry.com. And it's available in the audio, the Kindle, the hardback, the paperback. So however a person likes to experience a book, it'll be available at many places, certainly on Amazon. So, I appreciate this opportunity to talk with you guys and just to start to spread this movement. And I really hope that, it can reach more and more nervous systems so that we can change. If enough nervous systems get a hold of, the right information, the world can be a very different place.
Yes. And
Yes.
what is your date for then the book launch? Do you have a hard
So
date?
the official party, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak, is going to be April 25th here in Denver.
Nice.
So
Okay.
if you know anybody in Denver or they want to come and participate, I will probably release it the week before, so
Okay.
around the 8th, just to start getting some momentum. So gosh, we're less than a month out.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
So
are.
let us know too if you come to New Jersey for any book signings. We will definitely be there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or close by.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
we'll,
am going to wait for the weather to behave, as you said.
Yes,
It's
please.
not.
yes.
We'd suggest that.
Soon. Yes. We will be sure to include everything in our show notes
Yes.
about your book and your website and all that information
Mhm.
as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. This was really helpful.
Yes. Thank you.
Great information.
I appreciate
Really.
you both.
Yeah, this was a very interesting and educational conversation. So I know we appreciate it, and I
Mhm.
know our listeners are going to appreciate it too.
Yeah.
So thank you again. And thank you to our affiliates, the Pelvic Floor Store, Patricia Dreen, and underalpha.com.
And thank you so much for listening. And for our merch sales, please download, share, like to grow our community, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yes. And Lori, be sure to share. This actually will go live tomorrow. So it happens quick.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
it happens quick.
Right.
So be sure to share with all of your family and friends. And I'm sure everyone you're associated with this podcast, and we can grow our communities together.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
So until next week, where we continue to seek answers for women's healthcare
and support one another.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.